She found it on a Tuesday afternoon, the kind of quiet gray Tuesday that makes a widow feel the whole house closing in around her. Margaret had been going through Roy's things again. 3 years after losing him, she still wasn't finished. She told herself it was because she needed to clear the bookshelf. But the truth was, she just needed to feel close to him one more time. She picked up his old Bible, the one with the cracked brown leather spine he'd had since his 20s. She had flipped through it 100 times since he passed. But this time, something fell out. A folded piece of paper tucked carefully between the book of Psalms and the book of Proverbs. Her name was written on the outside in his handwriting, that same careful, slightly slanted print she had loved for 51 years. It said, "Margaret, read this when you're ready." She almost put it back. Her hands were already trembling. She had spent 3 years learning to hold herself together, and the thought of falling apart again, right there in the living room on a gray Tuesday, terrified her. But she sat down in Roy's old armchair, the one she couldn't give away, and she unfolded the letter. Stay with us, because by the end of this story, you're going to hear the 4 words Roy wrote that Margaret now says every single morning before her feet touch the floor. And those 4 words just might change your mornings too. Before we read Roy's letter, you need to know who these 2 people were. Roy and Margaret grew up in the same small town in Tennessee. They met at a church social when she was 19 and he was 22. He asked her to dance to a song she can't quite remember anymore. She said yes. She never stopped saying yes to him after that. They married the following spring, 51 years together, 3 children, 7 grandchildren, 1 old farmhouse with a garden. Margaret tended every summer without fail. Roy was not a man of many words. He showed love through action, through fixing things before she had to ask, through filling her coffee cup without being told, through showing up every single day without complaint and without fanfare. But that also meant there were things left unsaid, things she had always hoped he felt but never quite heard him put into words. And here's what you need to understand. Roy knew that too. He had been carrying that unspoken love quietly for years, waiting, it seems, for the right moment to finally say it. He just ran out of time to say it out loud, so he wrote it down instead. Roy was diagnosed with congestive heart failure 18 months before he died. He didn't tell Margaret he was writing the letter. He sat at the kitchen table one evening after she'd gone to bed with a headache, and he wrote 4 pages in one sitting. He folded it carefully, wrote her name on the outside, and tucked it into his Bible, where he knew someday she'd find it. He passed 11 months later on a mild October morning with Margaret holding his hand. And then the silence came, that long, heavy silence that every widow and widower in this room understands. But 3 years later, on a quiet Tuesday afternoon, Roy finally spoke. Margaret smoothed the letter on her knee and began to read. "My darling Margaret, if you're reading this, then I'm finally at peace. Please don't be sad for me. Wherever I am right now, I am not hurting anymore, and I am not alone. I'm writing this because I know myself. If I tried to say any of this out loud, I'd clear my throat about 12 times and then go fix something in the garage. So I'm putting it on paper where I can't run away from it." Margaret laughed when she read that. It sounded exactly like him. "I want to say I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the nights I came home too tired and too irritable to sit with you the way you deserved. I'm sorry for the times I chose the television over a conversation. I'm sorry for the year after Bobby was born when I worked so much overtime that you were essentially raising him alone. I told myself I was doing it for the family, but I think I was afraid of how much I loved that little boy, and I didn't know what to do with a feeling that size. She had never known that. Not once in all the years since had he ever told her what that difficult first year had really been about. He wrote, "I'm sorry for the winter of 1997. And here is where Roy surprised her more than anywhere else in the letter. Because 1997 was the year they nearly didn't make it. The children were grown and gone. The house was too quiet. Roy had retired earlier than expected and was restless and hard to live with. Margaret had, for the first time in their marriage, begun to wonder if they had anything left to say to each other. They had never spoken about it, not directly, not honestly, but Roy had written about it. And what he wrote about that winter stopped Margaret's breath completely.
He wrote, "That winter I could feel us pulling apart. I didn't know how to stop it. I was too proud and too scared to ask for help. So, one night in January, you were already in bed, I got down on my knees in the living room, and I prayed. I prayed harder than I had prayed since I was a small boy. I said, 'Lord, I don't know how to love this woman the way she needs to be loved, but I know I don't want to lose her. Please help me.'" And then Roy wrote something that made Margaret press the letter to her chest and close her eyes. He wrote, "The very next morning, you made me a plate of biscuits and gravy without saying a word. And I sat down at that table and I looked at you standing at that stove and I thought, God answered fast this time." She hadn't known. She had made those biscuits because she always made biscuits on Saturday mornings. It was simply what she did. But Roy had received it as an answer to prayer. He wrote, "I want you to know that you have been the answer to more prayers than you will ever realize. Not because you were perfect, but because you were present. Every single morning, you were just there. And Margaret, for a man like me, that was everything." In just a moment, Roy writes the sentence that Margaret calls the line that changed everything. The one she goes back to read when the grief gets heavy. Stay with us. But first, Roy wrote about the children, about Bobby and Diane and little Carol, who wasn't so little anymore. He wrote about each of the grandchildren by name, every single one, and what he admired most about each of them. He wrote, "Tell them I'm proud of them, not just for what they've done, but for who they are. That matters more. And tell them I'm sorry I wasn't always good at saying that while I was still there." Then came the sentence. He wrote, "Margaret, I need you to know something, and I need you to truly hear it, not just read it and set it aside. You saved me. You saved me from becoming a man who forgot what mattered. You saved me from a loneliness I would never have admitted to. You saved me from myself on more days than I can count. I am not a man who deserved 51 years of you, but I am a man who is deeply, overwhelmingly grateful that I got them." Margaret had to set the letter down. She sat in Roy's armchair and she let herself cry. Not the tight, controlled crying she had practiced since the funeral. Real crying. The kind that had been sitting behind her ribs for 3 years. When she was ready, she picked up the letter again. She was on the last page. And what Roy left her on that final page, the instruction, not the request, is what we're getting to right now. He wrote, "I know you, Margaret. Right now, as you read this, part of you is blaming yourself for something. Maybe for words you said when you were exhausted. Maybe for the last few days before I went, when you were so tired from taking care of me that you weren't always gentle. I need you to hear me very clearly. Stop. You were there. That is the only thing that mattered. That is the only thing that will ever matter. And I forgive you for anything you think you need forgiving for, even though, if I'm honest, there is nothing to forgive." Then Roy gave her his instruction. 4 words. He wrote, "Every morning, before your feet touch the floor, say thank you. Not to anyone in particular if you're not ready for that. Just out loud. 2 words. Thank you. Thank you for another morning. Thank you for the coffee waiting for you. Thank you for the grandchildren who will call you this week. Thank you for the garden that still needs you." Then he wrote, "Go back to the garden, Margaret. It misses you. And if the roses are still growing, that means something." He signed off with words she has since memorized. "I love you. I have always loved you. Wherever I am right now, I am loving you still. Love doesn't stop. It just changes shape. Remember that. Your Roy." Margaret folded the letter one last time. She placed it back inside the Bible and set the Bible on the side table next to Roy's armchair. Then she stood up, walked through the kitchen, and opened the back door. She hadn't been out to the garden in months, since the summer before he died, if she was being honest. The garden was overgrown. Weeds had taken over the vegetable patch. But along the old fence line, Roy's roses had come back. He had planted those roses the year they got married. He always said roses know how to take care of themselves if you give them even half a chance. Margaret stood in the late afternoon light and felt the sun on her face. And in that moment, she felt him. Not his absence, his presence. Roy's letter teaches us something so simple we almost miss it. We spend so much of our lives assuming the people we love already know how we feel. We think they can see it in our actions, in our routines, in the way we show up day after day. And sometimes they can, but sometimes they can't. And sometimes the words matter in a way that nothing else can replace. Roy waited until he was gone to say what he should have been saying every Tuesday morning over coffee. He would be the first to tell you, don't wait. If there is someone in your life who needs to hear that they saved you, tell them today. Not in a letter they'll find after you're gone. Today, while there's still time. Call your daughter. Tell your son you're proud of him. Sit down with your husband or your wife and say the thing you've been carrying quietly for 20 years. It is never too late. Until it is. And every morning, before your feet touch the floor, say thank you. Thank you for the day, for the people still in it, for the roses that came back on their own. Margaret says those words every single morning now. She also went back to the garden. The roses are blooming again this year. Thank you for spending this time with us today. If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone you love. And if you'd like more stories like this one, stories about real love, real loss, and the lessons that carry us through, make sure you subscribe so you never miss one. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other.